Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Thursday, March 5, 2020. Join us for the next 45 minutes as we deliver today's top stories around the globe. And we are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and live via streaming worldwide through UNTV News and Rescue Facebook account and untvweb.com. I am Angelo Castro III, and here are the headlines.
PNP Chief Gamboa and spokesperson Bernard Banach survives helicopter crash in Laguna, while one high-ranking police general is still in critical condition. Scientists recommend to expedite the study on the coronavirus disease 2019 after 2 strains have been identified. Economists announce a likely $15 billion drop in the worldwide manufacturing exports in February alone due to the coronavirus outbreak. Senators question the Anti-Money Laundering Council and Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas over the slow-paced investigation into the suspicious entry of millions of dollars in the country. Malacanang denies that President Rodrigo Duterte is keeping a soft stance with China amid scandals plaguing the Chinese-run Pogos.
I've always believed that defeating Donald Trump starts with uniting behind the candidate with the best shot to do it.
Michael Bloomberg endorses former Vice President Joe Biden after withdrawing from the U.S. presidential race.
A helicopter carrying Philippine National Police Chief General Gamboa and 7 others, including other top PNP officials, crashed in San Pedro, Laguna this morning. Gamboa, his spokesperson General Bernard Banach, and 4 others sustained minor injuries, but 2 police generals are in critical condition. The PNP grounded 7 police helicopters following the incident. Leah Ilagan reports why.
Philippine National Police Chief Police General Gamboa, PNP spokesperson, Police Brigadier General Bernard Banach, and 4 others are in stable condition after suffering minor injuries when their chopper crashed in a residential area in San Pedro, Laguna this morning. Police Major General Benigno Durana Jr., Chief of the PNP Directorate for Police Community Relations, said Gamboa sustained wounds on his arm while Banach has wounds on his face. He added Gamboa's aide-de-camp, Police Captain Kevin Gairamara, Pilot Police Lieutenant Colonel Ruel Zalatar, Co-Pilot Police Lieutenant Colonel Rico Macawili, and Technician Police Staff Master Sergeant Luis Estona also sustained minor injuries.
Okay naman, so far okay naman, stable naman kanilang kondisyon na pagselta naman sila. May mga abrasion, may mga sugat, wala namang bali sa kanilang mga buto, no?
Meanwhile, Police Major General Mariel Magaway and Police Major General Jose Maria Victor Jovic Ramos are both in critical condition.
Kami po ay humihiling ng inyong panalangin na sa quick recovery ng ating Chief PNP at sa kanyang mga kasamahan na sa ngayon ay nandito sa St. Luke's, and especially sa ating kasama na si General Magaway and General Ramos.
The Bell 429 chopper carrying the PNP officials crashed minute after they took off at past 8 o'clock in the morning. Based on initial information from the police, the chopper got caught on a high-tension wire due to limited visibility because of the dust in the area. Gamboa and the other PNP officials attended an event to turn over recovered impounded vehicles in the Laperal compound in San Pedro.
Based accounts po ng mga witness po, nung umangat po is talaga pong halos po zero visibility siya because of yung alikabok po and then buhangin. And biglang dito po nag-crash yung chopper dito na sa may cemented portion. At isa po sa kable ng kuryente po ay parang tinamaan pa po ng chopper.
Following the incident, the entire fleet of the police organization will be grounded pending investigation. The entire PNP fleet consists of 7 helicopters. According to Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa, the Bell 429 helicopter was brand new and bought just before he left the PNP to run for the Senate.
It arrived late na, once ko lang yung nag before my retirement, during the testimonial parade sa Baguio, before my retirement. Yun ba naman ang pinakaunang chopper na na-procure natin during my time.
A special investigation task group has been formed to investigate the helicopter crash. According to Durana, it will be up to the results of the investigation if the pilots of the PNP will undergo further retraining.
They are very much trained, no? Sila po ay nag-training hindi lamang dito sa Pilipinas, nag-training pa yan sa France, sa United States. So they have adequate training. But you know, at the end of the day, there are always pag-aksidente hindi mo mapupusiyan. Even a very good world-class training cannot foresee any accident.
Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue, Taguig City.
The management of the hospital, where 2 police major generals on board the chopper that crashed this morning in Laguna, says that one of the police officials is in critical condition, while the other is stable. Sherwin Kulubong tells us why.
Police Major General Mariel Magaway and Police Major General Jose Victor Ramos were transported to UniHealth Southwoods Hospital and Medical Center or USHMC unconscious. The 2 police officials were on board the PNP helicopter that crashed in San Pedro, Laguna this morning, together with 6 others including PNP Chief Police General Archie Gamboa. General Magaway has been transferred to Asian Hospital upon family members' request. UniHealth Southwoods Hospital President Dr. Elvis Beja says that General Magaway is now in a critical but stable condition.
Kalog ng husto yung utak. Ang tawag po namin na axonal injury, na diffuse. Mari pong walang mga actual na bleeding, pero yung pong ulo dahil nakalog ng husto ang utak ay parang nag-short circuit na rin dahil sa sobrang kalog, wala po siyang malay ngayon.
On the other hand, General Ramos is in critical condition after suffering facial injuries according to Dr. Bedja.
Si General Ramos po ay kasalukuyan po ay critical ang kondisyon niya. We are doing everything. Nandun po ang ating mga espesyalista at lahat po ng kailangan ni General Ramos ay naibigay naman. Anytime po magdidesisyon ang ating po mga attending physician sa kalagayan po ni General Ramos at malamang po maoperahan ngayon dahil may mga dumudugo po at may mga na-injure sa mukha niya.
Former PNP Chief and now Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa later arrived in UniHealth Hospital where only General Ramos remains.
Sa mukha ang kay General Ramos, sa mukha maraming parang nabagok ata. Wala sila sunog. Kasi nakuha mas na kaagad from the burning chopper.
The hospital assures they are doing everything for General Ramos.
Meron siya tama sa ulo pero mas ang injury niya ay yung mga buto niya sa mukha. Na kung tawagin namin ay Leport fracture. So ito po ay inaoperahan ng mga kaibigan nating ENT.
Major General Magaway is the head of the Directorate for Intelligence while Major General Ramos is the head of the Directorate for Controllership. Sherwin Kulubong, UNTV, News and Rescue, Laguna.
Philippine National Police or PNP Chief General Archie Gamboa said he would return to work next week, hours after he survived a helicopter crash in San Pedro, Laguna. In a video message, Gamboa assured the PNP and the public that he wasn't seriously hurt in the crash and that he's ready to continue his duties on Monday. Interior Secretary Eduardo Año confirmed earlier that General Camilo Cascolan, PNP's Deputy Chief for Administration, will be the officer in charge of the institution until Gamboa returns to full duty status. Gamboa appealed to the public not to further share photos of the accident on social media.
Sa ating mga kababayan at lalo na sa ating mga kapulisan, ako lumabas ngayon dito para ipakita sa inyong okay ako, hindi naman ako nasaktan. And as a matter of fact, I'm going back to office on Monday. Yung mga kinakalat na iba't ibang mga pictures, nakikiusap ako na wag na nating ilabas. Tulungan nyo na lang kami na ipagdasal yung mga nasa ospital pa. Kasama talaga yon sa aking biyahe papuntang Calabarzon. Again, to give warning to everyone that no matter what, the Philippine National Police would always enforce the law, no matter what it takes.
President Rodrigo Duterte will still ride a helicopter following the chopper crash of Philippine National Police Chief Police General Archie Gamboa and others in San Pedro, Laguna this morning. President Duterte often has chopper trips for his scheduled events and aerial inspections. According to the palace, the accident the PNP chief met today will not sway the chief executive from riding helicopters. President Duterte will most likely visit the injured PNP officials, though Malacanang has no details on the schedule.
You know, the president always says, if it's my time, it's my time. Fatalistic siya.
Scientists from different nations recommend a quicker study on the coronavirus disease after 2 strains were identified by researchers. Let's find out why from Asher Kadapan Jr.
China's scientists from Peking University have been able to identify 2 strains of the coronavirus disease that may have caused the outbreak. Out of the 103 genome sequences or samples taken in China, 70% of the strains are prevalent, which they call L strain. The remaining 30% is another strain, which the scientists call S strain. L strain is more aggressive and is highly transmissible, but it showed a drop in frequency in the beginning of January, probably due to the Chinese government's efforts to control the disease, according to the article. Dr. Stanley Perlman, professor of the microbiology and immunology at the University of Iowa, says it seems to them there are indeed 2 strains of COVID-19, but they have yet to understand what this means. Brazilian scientists who have also decoded the coronavirus DNA explain the importance of these findings.
The quicker we are able to generate a sequence for the 2 viruses that are quickly spreading, the quicker we were able to provide information from this virus, and we were quickly able to provide answers to health services. We are able to say if the virus was transmittable or if it is mutating within the population. This is important for health services so they can prepare for a possible epidemic.
Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue.
The health department stands firm it will not adopt the drive-through coronavirus testing stations pioneered by South Korea. According to the DOH, the World Health Organization should approve of the virus blitz testing before setting up the same in the country. Aiko Miguel explains why.
The government of South Korea has made the screening or testing faster to detect whether an individual is a COVID-19 carrier. South Korean authorities began putting up drive-through coronavirus clinics yesterday. They use rapid diagnostic test kits to determine if the symptoms an individual is manifesting are caused by COVID-19. Drivers and passengers do not even need to get off the vehicle while being examined. The entire process takes less than 10 minutes. The Philippines Health Department, however, says this drive-through screening will not be adopted in the country.
I asked them, what is the basis of your rapid diagnostic test? Has this been cleared by the WHO? Because the last thing I want to have is a rapid diagnostic test where it might produce false negatives. Nakakatakot yun.
The DOH will consider implementing this process after experts screened and approved it, the health chief says. As of today, the DOH tests samples taken from a suspected case and releases the result within a day or 2. There are 5 hospitals in the country which serve as testing centers. One of them is the Research Institute for Tropical Medicine, or RITM. Meanwhile, the number of patients under investigation, or PUIs, in the country rises to 669. 629 of them have been discharged from hospitals, while 37 are still isolated and treated in health facilities in the country. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The extent of the damage to the global economy caused by COVID-19 moved further into focus as UN economists announced a likely $50 billion drop in worldwide manufacturing exports in February alone. Kath Dumaraos details why.
China's exports of vital parts and components for products ranging from automobiles to cell phones are estimated to have shrunk by 2% in February. The world's second largest economy and epicenter of the coronavirus outbreak that has spread to more than 70 nations account for 20% of global production, with many countries reliant on its manufacturing inputs.
There's a ripple effect throughout the global economy, and to the tune of $50 billion fall in exports across the world.
The figure, which only covers the month of February, is preliminary and may be a conservative estimate, she said. Countries or regions suffering the highest export losses due to the disruption are the European Union with nearly $15.6 billion, the United States, Japan, the Republic of Korea, Taiwan, and Vietnam, according to the UN Conference on Trade and Development. Precision instruments, machinery, automotive, and communication equipment are the hardest hit sectors, it said in its report. Alessandro Nisita, a UNCTAD economist, said that Japanese carmaker Honda and other industries are closing plants in Japan because of lack of Chinese parts and components. India, the world's main supplier of generic drugs, has restricted the export of 26 pharmaceutical ingredients and the medicines made from them, including paracetamol, as the coronavirus outbreak plays havoc with supply chains. Coke Hamilton admitted such restrictions indicated that the virus was having a strangulating effect on the global supply chain.
Assuming that it is not mitigated in the short term, it's likely that the overall impact on the global economy is going to be significant in terms of a negative downturn.
Meanwhile, the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank Group issued a joint message of solidarity in relation to the ongoing epidemic. Available measures included emergency financing, policy advice, and technical assistance, the institutions explained, underlying the need to help countries to invest in protecting themselves. Kat Numaraos, UNTV News and Rescue.
Amid the threats and adverse effects of COVID-19 in various countries hit by the outbreak, there has been a positive impact seen in China, which has recorded the highest number of coronavirus cases to date. Ray Pelayo reports.
China is one of the countries that contribute a great volume of air pollutants on Earth. It is one of the parties that ratified the Paris Agreement, which aims to minimize the effect of climate change. The signatories agreed in 2015 to limit the increase in Earth's temperature. This is through the reduction of carbon dioxide emission coming from fossil fuel. Aside from vehicles, many industries in China highly depend on fossil fuel. Coal-powered plants are major pollution contributors, but the scenario changed in the beginning of 2020 when the coronavirus disease 2019 hit China. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or NASA, and the European Space Agency have observed through their air pollution monitoring satellites significant decreases and changes in the pollution level in the world's most populous country. The color yellow, red, and black on this map of China show the level of pollution from January 1 to January 20 before the COVID-19 outbreak spread. But from February 10 to February 25, a decline in the pollution level was noticeable. The image meanwhile shows the level of pollution from January 1 to February 25 in 2019 in Wuhan City. But during the same period, the satellite captured a significant reduction in the level of pollution at ground zero of the coronavirus outbreak. Since the beginning of COVID-19 outbreak, fuel demand has decreased because of cancelled flights and drops in trade in different countries due to the travel bans. Major cities in China also implemented a lockdown which has limited transportation. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Now let's get the latest tally of the coronavirus cases around the world. The viral outbreak that began in China has infected 95,425 people globally in 86 countries. Still, the overwhelming majority of cases of the infection are in mainland China, which has reported 80,410 cases and 3,013 deaths. South Korea is still second to the most confirmed cases outside China, with a total of 5,766 cases and 35 fatalities. The death toll in the European hotspot of Italy jumped to 107, now the highest outside China, and with 3,089 confirmed cases. The confirmed cases in Iran, meanwhile, has doubled to 2,922 and 92 fatalities. Meanwhile, in the Philippines, 669 persons are under investigation or PUIs for possible COVID-19. The number of admitted PUIs at medical facilities is now down to 37. Meanwhile, the number of discharged PUIs is at 629. The total number of confirmed cases in the country remains at 3. Welcome back. The alleged money laundering activity happening in the country may have a negative effect to overseas Filipino workers, says a lawmaker. Vincent Arboleda will tell us why.
Albay 2nd District Representative Joey Salceda fears the alleged money laundering activities that involve Chinese nationals may affect the remittances of overseas Filipino workers. According to the lawmaker, there is a lax implementation of the Anti-Money Laundering Act among some government agencies, including the Bureau of Customs.
Nagpapakita po na napaka-relax po ng ating pong sistema, both sa customs, kesyo nag-file po at nag-declare, lusot na, walang tanong-tanong.
The executive session of the Committee on Ways and Means last Tuesday showed that it takes 40 days for a report coming from the Bureau of Customs to reach the Anti-Money Laundering Council. According to Salceda, though the amount is declared, the origin of the money and where it will be used is not clearly established. Salceda said this action may be flagged by the Financial Action Task Force or FATF. Should the Philippines rating from the FATF fall, the overseas Filipino workers or OFWs and their families are among those that will be greatly affected.
Mahihirapan ang mga OFW natin pag-transmit ng kanilang pera, pag tayo ay diniram ulit ng FATF dahil po hindi na sila makakapag-remit sa atin through the ordinary banking system dahil po yung ating mga bangko ay sila po ay hindi na po makakapag-transact sa kanilang mga correspondent bank.
The FATF is an international organization founded to develop policies to combat money laundering, terror funding, and other similar activities. If the Philippines rating drops to a gray list, it will affect the country's trade, including the international banking system. Salceda says OFWs might have to double their usual remittance fees when the international banking gets affected.
Yung mga big correspondent bankings sa mundo, hindi na ididisalaw na po ang Pilipinas. So, babagsak tayo niyan sa courier system. Mas mahal po.
To prevent this from happening, lawmakers are now planning to submit a proposal. The Bulk Foreign Currency Act is one of the solutions thought by lawmakers to be a solution to fill the gap in the system, which became evident during the investigation of the smuggling of foreign currencies in the country.
We have the list of names. We did not. The list of names was shown, and what are the ongoing operations, or what the government's doing to identify them, and to exactly know where the money came from.
Vincent Arboleda, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
During the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee hearing on POGO-related crimes this morning, senators drilled the Anti-Money Laundering Council over its slow action on investigating the inflow of sums of money into the country. Harleen Delgado details why.
Senate Blue Ribbon Committee Chair Senator Richard Gordon said in today's committee hearing, the Bureau of Customs had sent letters to AMLAC, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, and even the Bureau of Immigration in October last year about apprehended individuals who had millions of undeclared foreign currencies. According to AMLAC Secretariat Executive Director Attorney Mel Racela, they started monitoring the suspicious entry of millions of dollars in March 2019. But Gordon lamented there seemed to be inaction on the part of AMLAC because of the continuous flow of bulk money which might be connected to POGO. Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas says it is still gathering information on the matter, saying it got the referral reports from AMLAC only in February. AMLAC explains it waits for the Bureau of Customs to submit its foreign currency declaration forms 10 days after every month. Gordon believes there is a problem with AMLAC's bureaucracy, to which AMLAC agrees.
We can never prosecute a money laundering offense unless there are proceeds as well as an unlawful activity. So we now have okay, cash, but we need to investigate further on the source.
BOC does its job, submits the apprehension to Money Laundering Council and to BSP as he did, and nothing is happening. Naggastos na yung pera. Nakaikot na sa buong mundo yung pera. I'm shocked.
Can you imagine transactions by the hundreds of millions that can be transmitted in a few seconds, and it takes us a few months to act on this report? I think something's wrong with that.
Gordon says at least 5 syndicate groups from Hong Kong and Singapore have been going in and out of the country from September last year to date to bring sums of millions of dollars amounting to $633 billion or over 32 billion pesos. One of the syndicates is the Rodriguez Group, composed of 23 individuals, which have brought in at least $283 million or over 14 billion pesos from July 2019 up to present. Gordon stresses the money could be a threat to national security, as it may be used for funding of terrorist attacks or even for bribing government officials.
The laws that are being applied in regard to false declaration, and that is not one of the predicate offenses of smuggling.
We can argue this till we're blue in the face. Again, from the standpoint of perception, talo kayo. Government loses. Government is seen as weak.
AMLAC also admits it is very challenging to go after internet-based pogos in the country. Senator Gordon hopes to see a change from the council in the next hearing.
I'd like to see what is happening in reality. Because pogo, there is no money being brought in. Panay internet yan. When you have that kind of money coming in, I think those are billions of reasons.
The committee has also subpoenaed members of the Rodriguez Group syndicate that is allegedly involved in millions of money laundering. Harleen Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
Malacanang stands firm that President Rodrigo Duterte is not soft on anything that relates to national interest. This statement comes after Senator Richard Gordon cited the president's soft approach on China. Rosalie Cos explains why.
Senator Richard Gordon believes President Rodrigo Duterte's soft approach on China has something to do with a growing number of alleged anomalies in the Philippine offshore gaming operators or POGO industry. The palace defends President Duterte, however, and insists the government will investigate on any reported irregularities and will take appropriate action. POGO is being linked to cases of tax evasion, prostitution, kidnapping, money laundering, and bribery.
I disagree. Then he does not know this president. The president is never soft on anything that relates to the national interest. He's a very decisive president.
The palace also responds to those asking why the government seems to be slow in suspending the operations of businesses in the POGO industry amid allegations of irregularities, unlike when the chief executive suddenly ordered the suspension of small-town lottery operations last year.
When the president decides on something, he has the goods to back his decision, to back up his decision. If he has not received a comprehensive report on these illegal practices, then you cannot hurry him up.
On reports received by Senator Panfilo Lacson, the Senate Committee Chair on National Defense and Security, that there are allegedly 2,000 to 3,000 members of China's People's Liberation Army in the Philippines for an immersion mission. The palace says that information still has to be validated. Meanwhile, the Chinese embassy in the Philippines criticizes irresponsible remarks made against China out of political motives. It also regards the reported illegal and criminal activities of some of its citizens in the Philippines as isolated incidents. The Chinese embassy has been in close coordination with Philippine authorities over the crackdown on transnational crimes. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
Senator Franklin Drilon says the operation of Philippine offshore gaming operations must not continue. He adds that POGO operations have adverse effects to our society. Dante Amento tells us why.
And yet, PAGCOR is saying, no, we should allow POGO to stay. because of the 8 billion that we realized out of the licensing fee that we issued. But just on the point of policy, I think there is no sense in continuing with these POGO operations.
Senator Franklin Drilon believes that the Philippine offshore gaming operators or POGO industry in the country must stop. During a Senate Blue Ribbon Committee hearing today, the Philippine National Police disclosed that the incidence of illegal activities related with POGO, particularly in Metro Manila, has increased since 2017. These include the operations of prostitution dens, where a total of 170 female Chinese nationals victims have been rescued since 2017. There are also recorded homicide cases and 11 POGO-related kidnappings, 9 of which happened in 2019 and 2 this year. Aside from this is the fear over the entry of many Chinese workers in the country.
Crime pa rin yun. Kakaunti man o marami, still crime pa rin siya. And ang pagdami nun is directly in proportion sa mga pagdami ng mga Chinese nationals here.
In China, online gambling is prohibited. It is also banned in Cambodia.
Yet, all the social problems that are caused by the POGO really points to the policy of stopping this POGO operation, because it is not worth what we see as the adverse effects on our society.
The Anti-Money Laundering Council, or AMLAC, also confirms that POGO contributes very little, or 0.029%, in the Philippine economy. The AMLAC adds POGO generated 54 billion pesos in financial transactions within 3 years of operation. 14 billion pesos came from suspicious transactions like drug trafficking and other illegal activities. Meanwhile, Malacanang says the government is ready to investigate any anomalous or illegal activity that involved POGO.
Any malpractice, any corruption, any irregularity relative to any activity or project in this government are always being investigated.
Dantiamento, UNTV, News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
The Department of the Interior and Local Government orders the strict implementation of tricycle ban on national roads. Local government units are also directed to plan alternative routes for tricycles. Joan Nano tells us why.
The Metro Manila Council is set to meet on Tuesday, March 10 to tackle how the local government units could strictly enforce the banning of tricycles on national highways. Among the agendas is the planning of alternate routes for motorcycles. This move is in accordance with the order of the Department of the Interior and Local Government, through which Secretary Eduardo Año reiterates the tricycle ban on national roads has been a long-time regulation, and yet a lot of drivers defy the order. The MMDA says, however, it has been implementing the tricycle ban on national highways for a long time.
Pero sa ngayon, lahat ng jurisdiction ng MMDA bawal ang tricycle. Commonwealth, EDSA, Marcos Highway, C5, Roacial, bawal na yan.
In 2007, the DILG released a memorandum order banning tricycles and pedicabs from traversing national roads. They will be allowed only if there is no available alternate route. In Katipunan Avenue, Quezon City, tricycles use a portion of C5 road as they have to load and unload their passengers. According to Mr. Restopes, a tricycle driver for more than 10 years, the Quezon City local government has given them a permit so they can traverse C5 road.
Dapat yung local government, pagtanggol kami kasi sila ang nagbigay. So sila rin ang dapat gumawa ng paraan kung paano kami makatagos dyan, kasi meron kaming siniservisyuhan na kailangan mag-traverse ka dyan na wala nang ibang dadaanan.
Mr. Restopes and his fellow tricycle drivers are worried over income loss once the order is strictly enforced. On February 17, 2020, the DILG issued another memorandum circular which gives local government units 30 days to plan the alternative routes for tricycles in their respective areas. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Authorities remind the public the importance of using an early warning device, especially when stopping on road or hard shoulders to avoid accident. Bernard Dadis reports why.
Two
persons died in a road accident that involved a passenger jeepney and a dump truck on MacArthur Highway, Santolan, Pasig City at 11:30 p.m. Wednesday. The victims were identified as Jenny Ann Clarino, 21 years old, a student, and Joseph Amor, 45 years old, a construction worker. 19 others suffered injuries, including the jeepney driver identified as J.R. Labita Gangan. According to witness, Gangan was driving fast when he suddenly maneuvered the jeepney to the right lane and crashed into a stalled truck.
Puno ho yan, puno. Mabilis talaga yung takbo ng driver, sobrang bilis. Nagulat yata siya Truck din po yung sinusundan ko, dump truck din po Pag iwas ko, pagpasok po ng kanan, nabulaga ako kasi nakahinto na siya dyan. Nabulaga ako kasi kung malit lang yung sinusundan kong sasakyan, mapapansin ko kagad siya
According to the truck driver, the front right tire of their vehicle had exploded, so they needed to change it when the accident occurred.
Umakyat po ako doon sa taas ng truck para kumuha din ng warning device. Kaya nung bumangga po siya, nagulat na lang po ako. Buti nga wala ako sa ilalim yung pahinante ko, kundi maiipit din po yun.
The jeepney driver tried to run away from the scene of the incident but was captured by the barangay tanod.
Nasa base kami, biglang may tawag na naghahabulan. So yung driver nitong jeep, tumakbo na. So na-corner ng mga tao ko ng tanod. Then pagpunta nila rito, nalaman nila na kaya pala may hinahabol, nabangga pala siya.
According to Pasig City Police Chief Police Colonel Moises Villaseran Jr., the jeepney driver will face charges of reckless imprudence resulting in multiple homicide, multiple physical injuries, and damage to property. Bernard Dadis, UNTV News and Rescue.
Another Filipino in Hong Kong has tested positive for coronavirus disease or COVID-19. According to Philippine Consulate General of Hong Kong, they have spoken with a Filipina who refused to be identified and is presently not showing any symptoms of the virus. The patient is already in isolation and undergoing tests in the hospital. The two other Filipinos who tested positive for COVID-19 have already recovered but remain confined in the hospital for further tests, the consulate added. Confirmed COVID-19 cases in Hong Kong have reportedly reached 100, with 2 recorded fatalities. And for the news abroad, here's Stephanie C. live from Hong Kong. Stephanie, good evening.
Good evening, Diego. California declares a state of emergency over the coronavirus. Meanwhile, the U.S. House of Representatives passes an $8.3 billion bill to battle the outbreak. Marisol Abogadil reports.
California Governor Gavin Newsom declared a state of emergency over the coronavirus in the state, which now has 53 confirmed cases.
I want to just acknowledge that with 53 tested cases positive, this is no longer isolated in just one part of our state. This is broadly shared as a burden and responsibility up and down the state.
Earlier, health officials announced the first California death from the virus in Placer County, near Sacramento. It marked the first coronavirus fatality in the United States outside of Washington state, where 10 people have died in a cluster of at least 39 infections in 2 Seattle area counties. The man who died had underlying health problems and was likely exposed on a cruise ship voyage between San Francisco and Mexico last month.
We have a number of passengers and crew members that have developed symptoms on this cruise ship. It's a Grand Princess cruise ship. As a consequence, we are going to be flying testing kits to the cruise ship, and we are going to be sending those quickly back to the state, and primarily to Richmond lab, where we'll be able to test very quickly, within just a few hours, those samples to determine whether or not these individuals that are symptomatic just have traditional cold or flu, or may have contracted the COVID-19 virus.
Meanwhile, the U.S. House of Representatives overwhelmingly approved an $8.3 billion bill to
combat the spread of the new coronavirus and develop vaccines for the highly contagious disease, sending it to the Senate for final passage. Under the bill, over $3 billion would be devoted to research and development of coronavirus vaccines. $1.25 billion would be available for international efforts. Mirasol Abugadil, UNTV, News and Rescue.
The government of Italy announces new steps to combat the novel coronavirus outbreak in the country, including the closure of public schools and universities and shutting fans out of all major sporting events. Nina Armilio details why.
The Italian government has ordered the closure of all schools and universities nationwide until March 15, as it grapples to contain Europe's worst outbreak of coronavirus, which has claimed 107 lives, an increase of 28 in 24 hours. On Wednesday evening, it confirmed that all major sporting events, including Serie A football, would be played behind closed doors due to the outbreak until April 3.
In this moment, we are concentrating on fighting with all measures in order to obtain either a containment of the virus or to delay the diffusion of the virus, because we have hospital structures and a health system. No matter how excellent it is and efficient, that risks to be overburdened.
Schools have already been closed in the northern regions worst affected by the outbreak, including Lombardy, Veneto, Piedmont, and Friuli Venezia Giulia, as well as parts of Liguria and Marche. The virus has now spread to all but one of Italy's 20 regions, with a majority in Lombardy. The country has recorded a total of 3,090 cases since the outbreak began, including 276 people who have recovered. Among those to have tested positive within the past 24 hours are 2 councillors from Emilia-Romagna. The government is reportedly considering further measures, including the closure of cinemas and theaters and the suspension of public events. In the regions worst hit by the emergency, such as Lombardy, theaters and cinemas are already closed and will remain so. Italians have already received guidance to refrain from the traditional greeting of kissing on the cheek and hugging, to avoid crowded places, and keep a distance of 1 to 2 meters from others. Nina Armilio, UNTV, News and Rescue.
Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky shakes up the country's government and proposes a new prime minister. Meanwhile, after a not-so-super Tuesday, Michael Bloomberg is out of the presidential nomination contest, but the power of his $60 billion fortune is staying in. Here's Beverly Saison to tell us why.
In the USA, Michael Bloomberg on Wednesday switched from being a candidate to being a powerful backer of former Vice President Joe Biden, who dominated the March 3rd Super Tuesday voting in the race to challenge President Donald Trump in the November 3rd election. Bloomberg, the 78-year-old former mayor of New York and one of America's richest people, performed poorly at Tuesday's polls, winning only the U.S. territory of American Samoa despite spending more than $500 million in an unprecedented ad blitz.
I've always believed that defeating Donald Trump starts with uniting behind the candidate with the best shot to do it. And after yesterday's vote, it is clear that candidate is my friend and a great American, Joe Biden.
In Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky ditched Prime Minister Oleksiy Honcharuk in a sweeping reshuffle on Wednesday after just 6 months in charge, saying new brains and new hearts were needed to revive the economy and tackle corruption. At a special parliament session, lawmakers voted to accept the resignation of Honcharuk, 35, who left as the country's youngest and most short-lived prime minister since independence in 1991. He was replaced by Denis Shmyhal, who told Parliament his immediate challenge was to stave off an economic and budget crisis. And in Haiti's President Jovenel Moïse swore in a new prime minister on Wednesday in a bid to turn around the fortunes of the restive Caribbean nation. Prime Minister Joseph Juth became Moises' fourth prime minister in 3 years by presidential decree. The move has raised the ire of Moises' critics for his failure to get parliamentary backing to the new appointment. President Moises has been ruling by decree since January after the country failed to hold legislative elections. The opposition has rebuffed his calls for a power-sharing agreement. The political crisis has cut the country of 11.2 million people off from some international funding, further hindering its ability to respond to the worsening economic woes. Beverly Saison, UNTV News and Rescue.
And those are the news from the other parts of the globe. Back to you, Diego.
Thank you, Stephanie C., reporting live from Hong Kong.
Safety is everybody's concern, so they say. In case of a fire emergency, keep yourself from harm's way by exiting safely. Know the importance of a fire escape plan as Nina Armilio reports.
Before a disaster happens, it's best to be prepared. A tragedy may happen during unexpected moments, just like a fire emergency. In 2019, the country's Bureau of Fire Protection recorded over 16,000 fire incidents. Of that number, more than 4,000 happened in the National Capital Region. According to Senior Fire Officer 3 Alex Alabastro of the Special Rescue Unit, BFP-NCR, it's important that every person in an establishment knows the building's fire escape plan to avoid human casualty. Based on the Fire Code of the Philippines, all business establishments employing at least 50 persons shall establish an organization of fire brigade to deal with fire and other related emergencies.
Tinuturuan din sila ng firefighting, basic life support, mga ganyan. Para kumbaga, mamitigate na kagad nila yung o kaya mapulan nila ng sunog before pa dumating yung mga bumbero kaagad para di na lumaki.
Even fire escape diagrams should not be disregarded. Pay attention to them when you step into a building. It points you to the direction of the fire exit from where you are standing. SFO 3 Alabastro adds that every office or department must designate a team leader for emergency situations like earthquake or fire. The team leader must be trained. He or she will make sure that everyone in the group exits the building safely and completely. He or she is responsible for doing a head count of the group members. Just like in BMPI, led by Mr. Public Service Kuya Daniel Rason, where there are designated team leaders.
Sa advokasya ng Kuya Daniel na ang lahat ng empleyado ng UNTV BMPI ay matrain sa rescue. So, nagkaroon din naman ng specialization. Meron mga ilang empleyado na binigyan natin ng advanced courses na manguna sa bawat department. Especially, kailangan natin lumabas sa building. Sila yung mga mangunguna sa bawat palapag para magbigay ng direksyon.
Not only companies and offices, but also every household must be ready for fire emergencies. The father of the family may lead the planning. Every single member of the household, even the house help, must know what the plan is and how to execute it.
Unang-una, alamin muna natin kung saan yung palabas at huwag nang babalik kapag kahit may naiwan pa sa loob na hayop, huwag nang babalik. At yun, saka sa tatawag ng bumbero.
Remember, in every home, create a fire escape plan. Practice how to execute the plan. Designate 2 fire exits. Make sure they are free of obstructions all the time. Designate an evacuation or meeting area where members of the family can meet after exiting the house. Know and remember the telephone numbers of the nearest fire station. In establishments, coordinate with a BFP office that covers your area. Abide by the Fire Code of the Philippines. The fire brigade must be alert and vigilant for fire emergencies. Practice how to execute the building's evacuation plan. Designate an evacuation area outside the building. Know and remember the telephone numbers of the nearest fire station. What we must not forget to do before calling anybody else, call the name of God. for help, guidance, and safety. Nina Armilio, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
And those are the reasons behind the news. And before we close, we will recap with today's significant soundbites. I am William Theo.
And I'm Angelo Castro III. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Good evening.
Sa ating mga kababayan at lalo na sa ating mga kapulisan. Ako lumabas ngayon dito para ipakita sa inyong okay ako, hindi naman ako nasaktan. And as a matter of fact, I'm going back to office on Monday. Yung mga kinakalat na iba't ibang mga pictures, nakikiusap ako na huwag na nating ilabas. Tulungan nyo na lang kami na ipagdasal yung mga nasa ospital pa.
Si General Ramos po ay kasalukuyan po ay critical ang condition niya. Anytime po magdedesisyon ang ating po mga attending physician sa kalagayan po ni General Ramos at malamang po maoperahan ngayon dahil may mga dumudugo po at may mga na-injure sa mukha niya.
Based accounts po ng mga witness po, nung umangat po is talaga pong halos po zero visibility siya because of yung alikabok po and then buhangin. And biglang dito po nag-crash yung chopper dito na sa may cemented portion at isa po sa kable ng kuryente po ay parang tinamaan pa po ng chopper.
There's a ripple effect throughout the global economy and to the tune of $50 billion fall in exports across the world.
BOC does its job, submits the apprehension to Money Laundering Council and to BSP as he did, and nothing is happening. Naggastos yung pera. Nakaikot na sa buong mundo yung pera. I'm shocked.
Can you imagine transactions by the hundreds of millions that can be transmitted in a few seconds, and it takes us a few months to act on this report? I think something's wrong with that.